Now let us continue modeling our precedent transactions. So it's a primary valuation measure. So we can go to the precedent transactions section. Here we have the low, mid, high, and average. And we have the multiples here, EV to revenue, EV to EBITDA, price to earnings multiple, and we also have here the price to cash flow. So we can use each of these multiple to determine the implied enterprise value for Amazon. So in this case, we will set this to be, we're going to use the EV to EBITDA multiple. So in this case, we will flip back to where we have this summary for the precedent transactions, and we can go to the financial model and grab earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. And let us just use here the year 2020, the last year of the historic period. That's just like an assumption. So we could grab EBITDA excluding stock-based compensation. In this case, we already have it summarized here. So we grab EBITDA excluding stock-based compensation. And we have that there. Now we can bring in the implied multiple range, which we determined in the precedent transaction section. So we go here and we grab the low for the EV to EBITDA. So by multiplying this multiple with EBITDA generated in the period, excluding stock-based compensation, it will give us the implied enterprise value. So in this case, we select the low. We flip back to the precedent transaction tab and we select the mid, EV to EBITDA. Next, we select the high, EV to EBITDA. So we have that set up there. Now, in order to estimate the implied enterprise value, it's going to be equal to, we take EBITDA, reference WF1s, and we multiply that by the implied multiple range. You can fill this right to the implied enterprise value for the high. So we have that set up there. Now, in order to determine the total implied equity value, as we know, we have to deduct the net debt. So in this case, we will switch the sign and we flip to our comparable company analysis tab and we grab the net debt of $59 million. We can fill this reference cell with F1s. We can fill this right with Control R. So now the implied equity value is going to be the enterprise value less the net debt. Now we can also bring in the fully diluted shares outstanding from the comps tab. 518 million shares. Reference of series F1s. spelling that right, to get their implied equity value in per share basis. We take that and we divide it by the fully diluted shares outstanding. You can fill this right with Control R. So as you can see, determining this valuation measure for Amazon is pretty much easy. So essentially what we did was we brought in the essentially what we did here was we brought in the companies that went through mergers and acquisition. So we have these companies in the last decade. So we brought all of these companies that underwent mergers and acquisitions. We have the acquirer, we have the target here and the transaction type, and then we brought in their matrices such as their transaction value, which is the enterprise value, and we were able to determine the implied equity value based on the current net debt as a result of that, and then we were able to determine the implied transaction multiples based on their current capitalization and the last 12 months financials for the target company. So we're able to do that to arrive at the implied transaction multiples, which we later on use to determine the implied enterprise value for Amazon. So that was pretty much easy. And